Hey, what's up? I'm Duncan Daniels, and you are watching Factory 78. It's been 13 years. Exactly 13 years, because it was around August, September of 2009 that I was on Factory 78.
People they suffer, ordinary airway we they breathe.
Oh my gosh. I think what's made me consistent is me not forgetting why I make music in the first place, right? My main passion behind making music has always been to create and package a feeling and export that feeling and let that make a change in somebody's life that's positive. And as long as I'm still able to do that to anybody that was willing to listen, that keeps me going. So I stayed true to that. I didn't make fame or popularity my objective, but mainly being able to create music that cuts across, that touches, that can make change, and make someone feel optimistic.
Who they breathe, they choky for throat.
My new album, Songs of Limitless Optimism, again, solo. Yeah. So, and it's again a testament to why I make music, to create optimism. And I'm glad that that album is doing what it's meant to do. And I figured, it's been a while since I've been in the UK to promote music. And I felt like I needed that one project that, I really needed to push hard. And this is a project. So I'm promoting it as hard and as far as I can, so I'm, just trying to reconnect with my UK fams and just, try to get the music out there, get some more people to know about the album. To be honest, I think my album solo is probably one of the best albums, Afrobeats albums to be released this year. Not necessarily the most popular, but one of the best. So you can prove me wrong by go checking it out and let me know what you think.
Is it about the number or the response from the industries? People?
It's two things. Is one, my conviction. Two is a lot of the feedback I've received. It's an album that has no features in it, but there are no skips on the album. 10 tracks that you can listen to from start to finish without skipping. You might have a favorite or two, but the album as a body, of work together is what an album should be like. It shouldn't be a bunch of hot singles put together and called an album. An album should be able to carry a listener from start to finish and convey a story or an experience. And I feel that that's what my album does. And not that many albums that have been released this year has been able to achieve that fit. So that's why I say it is one of the best Afrobeats albums out this year.
Wahala day here, it's in where they see for area. Oh yeah, bunkering.
Port Harcourt, I would say professionally I started music in 2003. However, I've been making music since 1998. I started out with my keyboard, in the church, sequencing on a Yamaha PSR 78, one of those models. And I was a lot frustrated because I wasn't able to get the access to a studio to actually record. But in 2003, through one of my friends, Andre Blaze, who a lot of you might know Andre from Nigezie. This was before Andre worked as the fire marshal on Rhythm 93.7 Port Harcourt. He introduced me to a group of producers by the name of a group of artists and producers, a collective known as Talk Tight. And these were like some really dope rappers that, were really, really, really influential in Port Harcourt back in the early 2000s. You had the likes of Specimen A, you had, some other folks, and then you had Talk Tight, right? Talk Tight was the brand. People from Talk Tight include Mac G, who's still rapping till today as well. Frank De Niro, some of you might know Frank De Niro from, Kalangolo. I can name a few names, Double K, Anyway, to cut long story short, I got in the studio, and that's how I really started. I started producing the artist from Talk Tight, and then eventually I moved on to work with Frank at his studio, The Large Records, in Port Harcourt, where another person who worked there too was Duncan Mighty. So we all worked together as the producers there in the studio, and we started making our own music. And I had a song in Port Harcourt called "I Don't Tire," featuring Roddy Answer from a group called Specimen A. The song was all over the place. That was my first single, and then there was a momentum, and right around the time people like Timaya and Duncan Mighty started getting very, very popular. I decided I wanted to further my education, and I moved to the U.S. to study music engineering at Berklee College of Music. And that's where my trajectory kind of switched apart from the trajectory of the likes of Duncan Mighty, Timaya, and now Burna Boy, who kind of was the, artist that started coming forward after that whole period. But I did my music. I had a song. My second album had a song with MI called "Like This." My second album, Showstopper, was another big project that we were pushing. So I was in the UK promoting that, and I came to Factory 78 back in 2009, and that's crazy. That's 13 years ago, and it was such a wonderful interview. And I'm back here again in 2022, and I'm still pushing my my sixth album at this point, because in 2020, right before the pandemic, I had a new album. I had an Afrobeats album called Afro Eclectic, but due to the pandemic, I did not push it as I should have. However, I decided to go back to the drawing board and really plan and prepare myself for this current project. So a lot of you might not even recognize the face, because my face has changed a lot. Because I got the beards now, and my hair is all longer and everything. But it's a rebrand. So I'm trying to reintroduce myself. This is brand new Duncan Daniels. With new music, new drive, new energy. So I'm glad to be back here in the UK promoting, and I'm glad that I'm still doing this. It's almost 20 years that I've been making music professionally. So
Wow,
it's
that's a long introduction.
yeah.
Madu, them plenty for my hood, oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Port Harcourt, we have in the surrounding Port Harcourt, there's a crisis that a lot of people are not aware of. With regards to the air pollution, and it's something that I have been trying to bring awareness to myself for quite some time. I think a lot of late last year and early this year, I've been talking about the Stop the Suit movement and the situation behind the pollution caused by illegal oil bunkering and burning of toxic chemicals uncontrollably in the area. There's caused to so much sickness, so much problems in the environment. Air quality in that region is so terrible. But people are just going about their day to day like everything is fine. But a lot of these issues are not going to show up until like 10, 15 years from now, when the effects of inhaling all these toxics into the body starts to show themselves. So I reached out to not just Burner, but a whole bunch of Port Harcourt based artists, or artists with Port Harcourt background, and Burner was one of the artists that actually responded, and he was actually touched by the situation as well. Like, you could tell that he actually had a passion, as he's always had, for the people in Port Harcourt, and he actually went ahead and incorporated a message with regards to the same topic in his Love Damini album. That's the song Whiskey, that he put out as well, and to help pass on the message. And I already also had a song that was going to be on my album as well with the same topic, called Madu. So at the end of the day, I'm so happy that he did that. Last time I saw Burner was at his show in Chicago during the Love Damini tour, and he was really, gracious to, have a small chat with me, and it was nice to catch up. I'm hoping, to catch up with him again soon. Who knows? Maybe we could work on something together.
I think anything might come together like between
Well,
you and him, like
I think I'm at the mercy of dynamics. Mom, see if you see this stuff, I beg go. I beg. May I just do small. Me and Burner will make sense. So just allow it to happen. you know.
Suffer, now you fool up the place. Madu, them.
I mean, I would say. It's funny because even before there was Afrobeats as a genre, I've been making music. I started out. There were those times in 2000, early 2000s, where, I used to work with, the likes of, Plantation Boys, P Square. When they come to Port Harcourt, then, they want to create their stage versions for their shows. They usually would come to our studios, and then even when I was in Lagos, I would go to OJB studio and I'll be working, doing mixes and stuff for folks. The likes of Wizkid at the time, with his crew, folks that I saw, as, young folks back then, even before when Davido started in Atlanta, before he moved to Nigeria, I saw all that stuff. So, I don't know if pioneer is the right word. If you think about it, 2022 now, everybody's talking Afrobeats everywhere, right? But
we're there then.
but we were there. We were there in 2006. We were there in 2007. We were there all the way till now. So I can comfortably say that yes, if not one of the pioneers, but I'll say one of the most consistent Afrobeats artists out of the diaspora. Because I've been doing it consistently. I've been putting out music consistently all this while. Some people might say, okay, if you're putting out this music all this while, why don't we know you? And that's a whole nother topic because, we can discuss about the Great Migration. The Great Migration is the idea of if you want to blow as an Afrobeats artist from the diaspora, you have to move to Nigeria to make that happen. Some of us could do that, like Banky could do that, and now you know Banky. Davido could do that, now you know Davido. So not everyone could do that, but doesn't mean that our craft wasn't as good. It doesn't mean that we didn't make great music. It's just that at the time that we were making our music, Afrobeats wasn't where it is. Now Afrobeats is where you don't necessarily need to be in the continental Africa to make it because the fan base is everywhere. The fan base, is in the UK, the fan base is in the US, fan base is in Asia, and you have more African artists coming out to the US, the UK, to Europe, to actually, engage those fan base. So it's a different time, but, that's the reason if you want to know.
On a daily, fine CC, falling in love with me.
Unfortunately not, but we're trying to change that. Unfortunately not, because you got to think of it, a lot of the promoters and all these folks are business people. They're straight up about, getting their bread. And they're not going to tap you in unless it's added value to them, But how do we make ourselves valuable, right? Which I'm going to segue to what we just did recently. Early this year, I reached out to majority of the Afrobeats artists in the U.S. and was like, guys, look at with what's going on with Afrobeats. These guys are not going to get us to jump on their stuff unless they see that we're relevant and we're added value. What can we do to make that happen? So what we did is we decided to form an organization. We created an association of U.S. Diaspora Afrobeats artists called OSDA. And we now about 60 members. We're discussing how we can, create our own shows, create our own platforms, do our own things, using our own collective resources. Because if 6 people can come together, we all have our own resources. If we pull it together and we make something happen, it's going to be big. So we are growing that. We're still sort of in the foundation layering. We started in April, so it was only about six months old now. It's fairly new, we're trying to get positioning. We're hopefully going to be working with the Grammys, and with other bodies. We're going to be, working like a non-profit organization too, also there to support other up-and-coming artists that are based in diaspora, and try to get the diaspora audience, especially the Africans in diaspora, to know about these artists that are making waves in their own local community in the U.S. and propel that to the point where all these promoters are going to see the value and is going to start tapping us into their events and making us part of their conversations when they're planning. Recently, we did that with the Headies. The Headies was coming to the U.S. and as a body, we reached out to the team planning on the Headies, and we were able to be represented at the Headies. So a lot of our members were there present. We were there we actually were able to spread the message behind what it is we're doing. And we hope that more organizations like, AFRIMA Awards, hopefully the NEA that comes back up again, begin to recognize that as much as there are artistry in Nigeria, when we do these events in the diaspora, we need to involve the ambassadors, the actual folks that are making and spreading Afrobeats that live in those communities as well. So hopefully that's going to be the change.
People they suffer, ordinary airway they breathe, who they breathe.
Ooh, the sky is the limit for me. So I'm always improving. I'm always open to learning new things. But I would say that, the fact that I'm still making music is encouraging, is inspirational for me as well as for other folks that look at me and see, the caliber of content that I have. My discography is very, very massive now. I recently signed a publishing deal with one of the biggest UK publishing companies, Centric Music, here in the UK. My distro is based out of Austria, and they're very big on the music distribution technology, especially with Dolby Atmos, which is a new sound that you want to get your music secured for the future with, which my album currently was upmix. I also mastered my album at Abbey Road Studios, which is the pinnacle for anything music here in London. So, I'll be also doing some stuff with them in the future. So I think as an independent artist, I'm doing all the right things. I'm crossing all the check boxes. I'm getting all the engagement going. I'm securing the future, exactly. So I am open to, working partnerships with, much bigger labels who might see that I have a viable product, I have a viable business plan, and a strategy to, triple or even times 10 what it is that I'm doing right now.
So you mentioned OJB Studio earlier. I think Whiskey used OJB Studio. Have you ever come across Whiskey?
Oh yeah. Oh, geez, so many times.
So you are the engineer that you...
I used to work as a guest engineer, so I would be hired. I'll be hired by an artist, and then I'll be flown in, or I'll be transported in from Port Harcourt, and then I'll come in and do their mixes and all that. But yeah, I did get to actually more than once. I think the first time I met Whiskey somewhere about 2005 or 2006, and then the second time was I think sometime in 2010 when I was in actually 2009 when we were promoting like this with MI, because I think MI just put out his album and Wizkid was doing the hook on one of his songs. So that's why, when I saw him at a video shoot that Nate to See was having with LD at the time, so we've crossed paths. And then in 2012, when Banky was doing the EME tour with Rotimi and Wizkid and all that, I was part of that tour with Scales and them.
You remember you?
I mean, obviously, Banky. Wizkid will remember me, but I don't know. Like, I've not really like. I just saw Wizkid over the weekend. We were at a club. His table was like beside my table, but you know how it is. My guy, is me and DJ Tunes. We go back, on a New York level, right? So, I was able to holler at my dude, what's up, Tunes? It's been a minute, because since Tunes got on the Wizkid, Starboy thing, he's been all over the world, so busy. So you never get to see Tunes in one place in New York at a time. So seeing Tunes was like, bro, what's good? Long time, But I don't. It's not the kind of relationship I would say I have with Wiz. I can, what's good from afar, and that's it.
Unless you guys got the opportunity
To sit down together and
you spoke to Burna
yeah.
Boy and it took your inspiration.
Exactly. It's more organic, me and Burner is more organic because we know each other. We come from the same Port Harcourt struggles. We have the same. PD Picasso. Who signed Burner with Aristocrats. I know PD. Like we have the same circles. Adasa Cookie, who is Wanda Banton's. Who has signed Wanda Banton. Wahala. They finished. Yeah. Adasa shot. Burna Boy's first music video back in Potaka, Adasa is my dude till tomorrow. You know what I mean? So Grafton, all these, there's organic thing going on there, so it's much easier, with Wiz, it's been from afar, but I mean, I'm always welcome to sit down with Wiz because I think he's an amazing artist and he's, the caliber of where Afrobeats is, if you say Afrobeats, you can't say Afrobeats without saying Wizkid, you know what I mean? So
The way that she smiles, she got me going crazy. Spending my money.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say they haven't because I mean the Nigerian industry, the Nigerian industry is all about it's all about hype, yeah. I mean, look at Asake, right? The guy is amazing, but there's also much hype on him. And the Nigerian music industry is about the fans and who they're feeling. And there's this thing in the Nigerian music industry that most people don't even know what they like. They just gravitate to what everybody else is listening to, what's trending. So I would say that my music may have not have had the opportunity to get to that trend level, or that hype level, but it's getting there, especially in today's world where, a lot of stuff that happens is on the internet, so the more that I can keep pushing myself and put myself in front of, in programs like this, like being on your program here, doing a whole bunch of interviews, getting the awareness out there, people then discover my music. But I love that when they discover the music, they get hooked because it's good, and then they start telling their friends about it. They start spreading the word for me. And that's how things catch and ignite, So I'm hoping that happens because I'm going to promote this album as long as possible. I'm not going to just put this album out and then jump to something else.
Spending my money on her on a daily.
Country music, rock music.
What's up with that?
So it's all about the experience I'm trying to give a listener, right? I see my music as a theater show, right? You can be an actor, right, and act different roles and still convey the message in what it is you're trying to do as an actor. It's how I also see music. I try not to let my music get defined or constricted by genre labels. You know what I mean? So because my music background and influence I'm influenced by so many genres. Like a lot of my writing skills came from listening to a lot of songs by, maybe John Bon Jovi, the Cranberries, Aerosmith, Meatloaf, and then a lot of my melody and, writing of melody and stuff came from listening to people like Casey and JoJo, Michael Jackson, what do you call it, Babyface, and all these R&B acts of the 90s, and then again, my rhythmic, ideas also stem from listening to a lot of 60s and 70s rock music as well. I was a huge fan of the Beatles, like a lot of these things is what makes me, who I am. And then I listen to a lot of Fela, I listen to a lot of Raskimono, listen to a lot of Oris Wiliki, listen to a lot of Majek Fashek, so it's encompassing with all this stuff. So, but I still have to make my sound not dated. So then I listen to Burner, and I listen to, a Fireboy, or I listen to, Victoni, and I hear some of the new stuff that people are doing today, and I try to incorporate, some of that, but still try to keep my sound unique. So that's what I was trying to do with this particular album. I knew it was going to be an Afrobeats album, but I still wanted this album to convey Duncan in it, but still at the same time be today. When you listen to it, it still sounds today. So I think that's the beauty of this project. So if you haven't listened to it, I don't know what you're waiting for real.
The summer gay, I jam for Ballanday.
Last year, I think sometime around this time last year, I was like, I want to make an album that would make up for what happened in 2020 with the pandemic. I wanted an album that to do what I wanted to do. I didn't want to have to go back and re-promote Afro Eclectic. So, but what I had been doing throughout 2021 was putting out singles that would help still keep my numbers up, and keep the momentum going. So I put out 6 singles last year. So in October, after I released Bad Mind, which was my last single for 2021, I went to work. But I was like, how do I come out as an artist with a new project? I was like, I'm going to do it the way a label does it. I'm going to start with image. I'm going to start with perception. I'm going to start with preparation. I was going to create a 8-month plan, 8 to 10 month plan for an album release. So I went to work on what I was going to, I saw in my head an image of what I was going to look like. And then I started working on that. And then when I was going to start recording, I was going to put myself in a mind frame that would get a project that's in sync. So in January, after the holidays, I got in the studio and I just started recording. In about 2 weeks, I was done with the album. So it wasn't, trying to put filler songs or trying to find a song from before, a single to add. It was all brand new music specifically for this album. I recorded everything on the same feeling. So it became so in unison. There's something about when you create an album all together, it's not like you did one song last year, you did one song 2 years, so they sound different. I did everything in that 2 week period. But then once I had the sound, I was like, how can I make this the best sonically enhanced album that anybody listens to? And I was like, I was so determined that that's what I wanted to do. So I started mixing it out because I do a lot of my mixing myself and the engineering myself. And I mixed it to the best of my abilities. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm limited here. Let me try to get this mastered at the most pristine sound quality I can ever get to it in stereo. And there's no other place than Abbey Road Studios.
That's how you came to.
So that's why I came to get it done here in London, getting mastered by the same folks that did the Beatles, same folks that did, a lot of the big, acts, Coldplay, Kanye, a whole lot of people that they've mastered albums for. And luckily, they actually liked the music. So it was even such a joy for them to actually even master the album as well. So the sound at the end of the day was so good, but it still wasn't okay there. I learned about Dolby Atmos and the new immersive audio technology. I was like, I need my sound to be in this technology because 10 years down the line, when everybody is no longer on stereo and everybody's listening to, 3D audio, I want my music to also be part of that. One of the, first Afrobeats albums, to be in that format. So luckily, I was able to do my research, and I met this amazing guy who now currently works for Universal Music, Alex Solano, and we had a great understanding and workmanship, and we kind of worked virtually to get each song done in Dolby Atmos 3D immersive sound. So if you have Apple Music, you can actually listen to my songs in 3D audio with the Apple Air Max or any Bose or Sony headphones that supports Atmos. So we went, and it was a process. We took time, and then after that we had a pre-release marketing plan that started in May for an album that was going to be out in August. So we started doing all the legworks, making all the deals, with the media companies that were going to support, and doing all these stuff independent too. But I had to take the templates from the way Atlantic Record does things, the way Interscope does things, but do it on my own minor scale. And that's the good thing about today's time. As an independent artist, you can follow a playbook and you can plan, budget, and try to get things off the ground at your level. And that's what I did. I did it at my own level, and I'm so proud of the work we've done. The album is good, it's being received very well. However, I just need to keep promoting it, and that's what I'm doing.
To find her ikebe fikari away.
Oh, the Headies was amazing. It was great that they saw the vision to actually have the Headies done in the U.S. I know a lot of people were not in tune with that, but it was good because it was a what do you call it? Like, we displayed the African culture to the American media society in a grand way, that they were able to kind of see, okay, Afrobeats is here to stay. This is a genre that we need to acknowledge, because it was hosted by Anthony Anderson and Osas. Who Anthony Anderson, if you don't know who he is, he's the lead actor in Blackish. He's amazing. For the black community.
He wasn't happy that some top artists Nigerian didn't come, Afro artists didn't come. But what
And
would you have to say?
and I mean, the excuse that at least was given for Wizkid, because I was sitting right next to one of the Starboy team working with Sunday Are, who was actually collecting Wizkid's awards. So all those awards that Wizkid won was on a seat right next to me. So I kept looking at it with longer truth eye. But what was said was that they both had, Thames and Wizkid had a performance that same day in London. Is what was said. Burner, I don't know. I can't speak for Burner, but there's this saying about he is maybe due to how he had been treated in the past. I don't know. I personally would show up for an award like that because it is part of the story, right? It's part of our growth, is part of what we're trying to showcase. I don't think I could be, no matter how big I am personally as an artist, I don't think that any award that I'm invited to is small. If I'm invited as a nominee, somebody took their time to vote for me and give me something and say, we're giving you this for what you're doing with your music. No matter how big I am, I'm going to show up. But again, that is the kind of person I am. And plus, I think I have more control of my music than some of these other artists. Some of these other artists are, sign contracts here and there with labels that, keep them locked to certain things. Maybe they can attend certain things, but for me, I'll show up. But the Headies was great because so many other artists showed up. It was kind of like also a mini Nigerian reunion too, because a lot of even US based artists that haven't seen each other in a while, we got to reconnect. I got to see, I got to hang out with LD, the Don. I got to see Sam Clef after a while. I got to see, who else did I get to see? I got to hang out with Audu Maikori. It's been a while. I got to see MI, Chulo, Timaya, so it was nice. DJ Obi, I got to see him set, Spino. So all these people that I don't see all the time, but I know personally, I got to hang out with them. So it was fun. One thing about me is I hang out with my people that I know that are friends, right? I'm not the kind of person, I don't do the, what do you call it? I don't do the groupie thing. I can't even do it. I don't know how. So if I'm not cool, me and Olamide, we don't know each other. I'm not going to be running up and down Olamide or running up and down, Asake or any of these folks. I'm going to see them I'm going to hail, hey, you're doing good from your point. But I'm not going to be flocking around you. It's not me. Because I have my own artistry, and my own brand to represent. So I'm out there representing my brand. But my friends that are in the industry, I come, I talk, just with them. I try to catch up, and especially MI. Me and MI, we're so we don't see each other all the time. We don't talk all the time,
Go way back.
but when we see each other, it's all love. You know, it's such a great Sobrekon. If I tell you the stories of me and Sobrekon back in Lagos in the early 2000s, you wouldn't even believe it. When Soso used to work at Question Mark Studios, Soso was there. We got to hang out. We got to gist. We got to catch up. You know, Mac G was there. We got to eat. So it's organic. I'm all about organic. For instance, with you, you know, if I see you any day, anytime, anywhere, is real. It's all love. I don't have to front. I don't have to fake anything. So I'm an open guy like that. I don't do any manufactured or, you know, manufactured emotion. When you get me, Duncan, you see today is Duncan, you see tomorrow. I'm as real as he gets.
Fine, fine, CC. Falling in love with me. The
Oh, streaming is a godsend. Streaming is a godsend, especially because of
You too, right?
yeah, for me too, because you know, and you know, funny enough, I got on streaming a lot early too. Like my music was on my first album
I know you
that
are
came out.
like-
Yeah, 2006. I had my music on iTunes. That was a huge thing to do back in 2006 for an independent artist to have your music on iTunes, and I did. And I've been self distributing my thing, doing my thing. But I like what has happened today, especially with Spotify and with the Apple playlists, because people that live in God knows where, they never heard about you, all they have to do is go on a playlist that they listen to, and if your music is on there and they like it, they like it, and they're fans for life if they like it. And then you have that data on the back end, so you can see where your fans are. You can communicate with them. You can engage them. You can build community off of them. You know, with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, you can build a community around your music of people that actually support your music. So, I mean, streaming is amazing.
way that she smiles, she got me going crazy. Spending my money.
Longevity. I mean, hence testimony of why I'm still doing it, right? Because if it was for streaming, I would have quit a long time ago. But you know, I'm one of those artists that I'm still gonna be making music in my 50s. You know, like if somebody listens, they listen. If they don't listen, I'm still gonna put it out there. You know, so it's just that sometimes the projects that I believe in more than the others that I feel okay fiscally is strategic to put money behind this and you know pursue it and really push it, like this project that I'm doing right now.
The way that she smiles, she got me going crazy.
I think because Afrobeats is still fairly new, I think what's missing is I think emphasis on things like mental health, you know, structures that addresses structures that address some of the problems that artists face. You know, a lot of artists are jumping into things blindly, you know, jumping in contracts here and there, you know, being used by a lot of the industries right now. And there is no nobody has had that talk with them as to, okay, 2 years from now, when you're not popping, what's going to happen, you know? So I think for someone who has seen the music industry outside of Afrobeats, you know, as a producer working with, you know, labels in New York and all that, you know, I think Afrobeats is yet to still have folks like that that are discussing the other side when the spotlight is gone. How are you able to continue? How are you able to cope? How are you able to be financially stable? How are you able to be structured? How are you able to take care of your mental health? How you,
What do you think
yeah.
can be done now?
I
Do
mean,
you have any advice,
I think organizations,
especially for the young ones coming?
organizations like OSDA, which is the organization I talked about earlier on in the U.S. of Afrobeats artists, I think there should be organizations like this in the different areas that also have some of these educational aspects to it as part of the incentives that they provide to their members, and you know, funds that also help look out for members. You know, You always hear, oh, one or two musicians is sick and he's getting donations here and there, and nobody is paying or whatnot. It shouldn't be like that. Like if you are an artist and you are part of a growth of a genre, and you get into a situation in the future, if you're part of a body of set like-minded people, they should be able to support you easily because there's a body that has been in existence, just like a union, right? Like when you have a union of workers, they all support each other, they all decide what's going to happen, and they're stronger that way. So I think maybe USDA will become a template for things like this as we build it. So we'll see.
Amalicha my sugar honey. I'ma get to bad oh. Amalicha my sugar honey.
So I want to, and I mean, I've reached out to on a spaceship team. Actually, my song Madu, I had sent a demo to on the spaceship team to try and pitch, maybe having Burner on the song. But again, a lot of this pitching to, especially at this level that I am pitching to some of the major artists, I feel is a little premature because either I'm paying them a whole lot of money to jump on a record that they might not feel obligated to even promote. So I might have a record with Davido that nobody knows about because there was no obligation to promote it because of the position that I came from to get that. I just paid to get it. Now, if I, let's say, push my album and maybe one or two songs or three songs, or even the whole album becomes a smash hit, I can now then say, hey, DMW, look at what I did here with this album. There's all these people that like it. If we do a remix to one or two songs here, or we do a new song, you're tapping into what I'm doing, and then I also tap into your fan base as well, getting to know my music. Now, there is more incentive for Davido to promote the song that he did with me, because there's something for him to gain out of it. The same thing with Burner, the same thing with Wizkid. So, I mean, obviously, if an artist reaches out to me because they like my sound and want to feature me on their song, I will gladly jump on it. But me reaching out to a major artist right now, and it's coming from a place of weakness, might not be advantageous for me in the long run. It might be advantageous for me for like a month, but long term. So I think timing is it's all about the right time.
Amalicha my sugar honey. I'ma get to bad oh.
Oh shit! It's actually my jacket.
Oh, really?
Literally mine. I designed it. Oh, I mean, come on. It goes without saying, man. Adidas.
Okay. Oh, really? Yeah, I think. I remember. I see.
It goes without saying, bro. Everything I'm wearing is Adidas. From my shirt to my pants to my underwear. My boxers is Adidas. My socks is Adidas. My sneakers is Adidas. The only thing I'm not putting on that is not Adidas is my Duncan Daniel's Dunkish Rock limited edition varsity
Are you
jacket.
working with them, or are you like a?
I wish. I've been for years. I've been like, yo, Adidas, what's up? I've been rocking the brand. I'm a straight up Adidas fan. Like, I even get the exclusives. I'm part of the Adidas exclusive club. So I get a lot of stuff sometimes before they even make it out to market. But it'd be nice to be like an official Adidas, brand ambassador someday. So hopefully, if you guys are watching, shout out your boy.
Maybe speak to Kanye West.
I don't know about Kanye right now, cause man, dude is
People they suffer. Ordinary airway we they breathe. Who they
It's funny. I actually ran into Ayo Shonaya in Atlanta. Good dude. Like, I love what he did with Afrobeat Backstory. However, I didn't expect that he will cover everything, because if you want to go through the Afrobeats backstory for real, that documentary will be more than 50 episodes long. So I like what he did with it, especially to introduce Afrobeats as a story to people who don't know anything about it. I think he hit the mark with that, and I believe that was the objective. Now, to tell the full story, you have to then start doing sequels because you have to start doing it from the lens of the people who did Afrobeats in Jos, or the people who did Afrobeats in London, or the people who did Afrobeats in Port Harcourt, or the Afrobeat folks that were in Abuja, the bloggers. There's so many areas of the US based Afrobeats that were there in 2006 doing Niger DJs, like there's so many stories. The Zimos.
Days of Under the Rock.
Under the Rock, Coscanino, like New York, New York things, the stuff that was going on in New York, in the early 2010s, the parties, the birth of Duke Osita, and Duke Concept. Like there's so many stories that you can talk about that led to where Afrobeats is that I feel like could not be contained in just that one season. So I'm hoping that he's working on sequels because I think as a sequel, it would immerse even more fan base and more followership. But great job, Mr. Shonaya. Great job.
People they suffer, ordinary airway.
I don't think money has broken the rules. I think money has created opportunity for the genre to thrive. My only problem about money in Nigeria is because I think people got a little too greedy. Right now as an artist, I wouldn't advise you if you're trying to break as an artist in Africa to even go to Nigeria to break, because you'd have to have like some
Billions of money.
serious leg when it comes to money, and somebody is giving you that money, not your money, because you might not see the actual impact of that money, even if you're putting in the same amount of money that Davido is put in when he started. You might not even see that because a lot of people are just hungry to take your money in that industry because that's what the culture has been bred for, is to take your money and under deliver, or give you, not deliver as well, or still prioritize the current, top artists to you because you're not at that level.
Yeah.
But they be collecting that money too. So, and then if you don't know the right people too, you also be spending money, to waste. So you're better off going to maybe Kenya or Ghana or South Africa to try and blow up in those markets before you come to Nigeria to try to do things. It's hard. It's a different animal now. You're even more better off promoting your music in the States, money wise, than doing it in that, unless you want to really spend that bread. But it shouldn't have been like that, because now they've made it a lot tougher for artists to come, especially the artists in diaspora, to try to promote in Nigeria. Because once they see, oh, you're coming from the US or you're coming from the UK to promote music, you're not even an artist to them. You're a bag of money to them. That's what it is, So it's quite unfortunate, and sorry if I'm upsetting anybody, but it's facts. It's the truth, So, man, I'm just keeping it real.
Wahala day here, it's in where the C4 area. Oh yeah, bunkering don't fuck up the place.
People they suffer. Ordinary airway we they breathe. Who they breathe? It they choky for throat. Wahala day here, it's in where the C4 area. Oh yeah, bunkering don't fuck up the place. Madu, them plenty for my hood, oh. Suffer, now you full up the place. So that song, I'm worried about that song giving me problems with the government out there, because I'm speaking for the people in, the Niger Delta and Port Harcourt that having to inhale the air, having to live in poverty, having to, deal. Because a lot of people don't want this information to be out there. Because Nigeria is, since all the Shells and all the Chevrons and all the companies started leaving Nigeria, Nigerians had to now fend for themselves when it comes to oil, or import the oil from abroad, which is way more expensive.
And to clean up the place too.
And which is all way more expensive. They've now become reliant on this bunkered oil. The bunkered oil is what's running the economy of Nigeria. So if they should stop oil bunkering, I don't know what the economy is going to be looking like, because they're going to have to now pay for oil because right now the refineries are still not functioning. So in a way, my message in that song is not making a lot of people happy, because if that song does what it's supposed to do, it's gonna, some people's pockets are gonna be less, and some of those people who are doing the oil bunkering to survive, I'm taking their means of living from them. So sometimes I worry about the impact. However, I'm also thinking about the child who is going to grow up having, pulmonary disorder or respiratory, disease, or the person whose lifespan is going to be cut short by 20 years because he's now coughing out black, materials from his nose, or the overwhelmed doctors that are underpaid. They're going to be dealing with the crisis and the chaos that's going to come about of, the influx of people with respiratory disease.
And a lot of doctors are left Nigeria.
A lot of doctors are leaving Nigeria now because they're not getting well paid, and they're not getting the support they need to actually advance their own knowledge on how to take care of people. So, I mean, it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it. Recently, someone sent this song to the Grammy Song for Change. It might not be a popular song, but it is what it is. It is a song that should effect change. But sometimes when you're also trying to effect change, there are also some people who don't like that, who don't want change, who want the status quo. And those are people that you need to be looking out for.
So you're going to shoot a video for that song?
There is a video out for the song already.
Oh, really?
It already has almost 500,000 views on YouTube.
I think you should promote that.
So I'm promoting it. It has 500,000 views on YouTube. Madu. And my boy KC, CK actually, sorry, I didn't say, not KC, CK. CK actually,
The same CK?
yeah, CK actually just did me a solid because she just put out a song called Madu on his new album. And funny enough, when people search for the song on YouTube, they see my video. So shout out to CK for the free promotion.
I might get some
So thanks. Although the songs are two different, CK is singing about a girl. I'm singing about the struggle. Madu means person in Igbo.
person.
Yeah, like a human being.
Human being.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how they relate to potatoes? Like people.
Peoples. Yeah. So I'm talking to my people. Madu, then plenty for my hood. Suffer.
See where the C4 area. Oh yeah, bunkering, don't fuck up the place.
How do you
It's
feel?
great. It's great.
Wow.
It's great, and I'm here for it. I'm glad that I'm here for it. I'm glad that I didn't stop. I think I'm one of those artists that was a lot ahead of their time. Way ahead of their time, but it's beginning to catch up. So I'm here for it. I'm excited, and I'm especially excited for all the new fans and the new listeners that I've been getting recently, because to them, I'm not an artist that's been doing music for 20 years. I'm an artist that has just been doing music for 2 months.
You're a body of work, man.
Engineer,
Producer,
marketing exec, because I
think is it because you are doing too much of it?
well, I mean, because I'm not sitting around waiting for nobody to do stuff for me. That's some things artists do. They sit around and wait that someone's going to do it for you. No one gives a shit about you. Sorry, excuse my French. No one cares. You could be Michael Jackson's reincarnate. You could have been Michael Jackson that came back to life. And if you're not doing what you got to do to get your music out there, no one really cares.
See where the C4 area. Oh yeah, bunkering, don't fuck up the place.
So next year I'll be officially, hopefully, be an actual coin voting member. However, I was luckily to be part of the group of Afrobeats leaders and artists and writers that were invited to the meeting with Harvey Mason Jr. and Angelique Kudjo and members of the Grammy board and other heads in the Afrobeats industry. And I'm glad that they finally having this discussion, because to be honest, if you look at it, especially if you look at it from a world music category lens, right? The popularity of Afrobeats in a way can drown out other world music genres if it's considered in the same category, right? So because there's thousands of world music genres out there, and Burna Boy is this, let's say for instance, is this massive, artist that's so popular. It doesn't make sense to group all these other, world genres and Afrobeats in one because it will kind of shine because Afrobeats is not a pop genre. So the discussion of making Afrobeats its own separate category is vital, even from that lens. So if you think about it from that lens, it is vital. Now, the idea of calling it Afrobeats is now where the discussion comes now, because Afrobeats on my piano. Is Afrobeats Zouk music? Is Afrobeats high life music? Is Afrobeats, what other African genre of music is there? Congolese music, is it Afrobeats? No. So, exactly. So, that discussion becomes even more complicated when you start thinking about it. What is Afrobeats?
But Grammy is not going to nominate. They're not going to have every genre from
Exactly.
Africa. Do that.
Exactly.
Outside of Africa, this is
What is known.
all of
Thank you. So you exactly share my sentiments. So there is discussion to call it African music category, but then you now have
had
this
that
issue.
already.
Exactly. You now have this issue. So I like where they're going with it. I like, where Harvey's thinking with it, where they're talking about, Afro beats because
Maybe they should have called it Afro pop.
yeah,
What do you think?
then you now start having that discussion about pop. Pop is already its own genre, but if you think about it, pop, when you say best pop song, a best pop song can also be a rock song. A best pop song can also be an R&B song. A best pop song can also be, so
Yams can be Omale, or they can
exactly.
be
So when you coin it Afrobeats, it's not necessarily saying, oh, Nigeria and Ghana, which is what people know to Afrobeats. It could be the pop of African music, and any genre that is popular within that African subsection
now maybe it's
that's made
way out.
that's become mainstream can be considered Afrobeats because every U.S. person, everybody out here knows Afrobeats. They know the word. So I think at a point we need to start leaving all that bickering about and just accept what social media and the times have already by design, created for us. And then if we ever decide to have our own thing like the Latin Grammys have, they have the Latin Grammys Awards. Maybe we can have like a separate awards show for African music specifically that we can now dive into those specific details of what each the francophone genre is or South African genre is or whatnot is how I feel.
Madu, Madu, them plenty for my hood, oh. Suffer, suffer, now in full up the place.
Yeah, I mean their names out there. I mean one person that stands out like I can say right now that I is really putting in the work is a guy named Bills from he stays in Houston. Bills,
BIL?
BILS, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think Bills is stands for Born in Lagos something. Sorry about that, Bills. I forgot, but I think it has to do with Lagos. But anyway, yeah, he's a really dope Afrobeats artist. He raps, he sings. He's a great creative content producer, so he does a lot of great social media content that helps promote his music. And he's working hard. He's relentless, and he's also he's also been doing it for quite a bit. I think early 2010s, I would say thereabout. Another person is a guy by name of Big Clef. He's out in the California Oakland area, and he's really put himself forward, collaborating with a lot of U.S. and diverse music artists out there as well. I think there's so many other people like there's Knowledge Wisdom, there's Tone Star, There's a rapper that's really good by the name of T Money that's also been doing stuff for a long time. There's a guy by the name of Oloye. Actually, his name used to be Mr. Money, but because of Asake, he didn't want to merge his brand, so he actually is going by his real name, Dami Oloye. He does actually, funny enough, he actually does that Fuji sound as well, but he blends it with pop as well. So and he's been doing it for a long time now. We have the likes of Cap B, rapper. Cap B from back then too. We have the likes of Olu. Olu is actually Olu Money. I think he's T Money's brother as well. So he also raps in Yoruba, like really like hard trap in Yoruba. Very dope. There's Dolakpo the Vibe based out of New York. There's King Plu. There's Isaac Gerards. There's Jesus. I can go on and on.
So what about the promoters?
Promoters.
You want to, or you don't want to touch them?
Well, I mean, one of
One
big.
are doing well that promoting Afrobeat over there.
I would say, I mean, everybody would say, I mean, Duke Concept. I've known Duke for a while, even way before Duke Concept even began, right? So I've seen that, and I love what he's done with collaborating with the media partners and trying to get Afrobeat those top quality tours and shows. However, he's not doing it alone. He has to work with a whole bunch of other people to make things happen. So the I believe the promotional teams in the US are doing doing the right thing in terms of how they market it and again, but I feel like they are at a disservice to themselves by not tapping into the actual diaspora artistry that already is there in front of them. There's a lot easier to do shows with, that would always show up on time, that would be less of a logistic to deal with. If they can help or join in the building of that local industry to make that audience in America know these people, and because we have good music. If they subscribe to these people and we make these people as big as some of the UK artists here in the US have been made big, they can always make money on the off season when some of the artists are not able to get their visas, or some of the artists are having conflicts to show up in America or do other things. But they are not looking at the big picture. They're not looking at the long-term, gains. They're looking at right now. Let's just make money right now. And I've been saying this for a long time, because if they don't do it, eventually all these other companies that are run by the big labels and what are going to tap into us, the diaspora artists, and other folks who are not even African but make Afrobeats and start doing their thing for them.
Like Live Nation.
Exactly.
Doing it now already.
So I keep saying it, but who am I? What do I know?
You have a track in your album called Balende.
Yes.
I listened to that before you came.
Oh wow.
It's getting momentum right now. So just talk about Balende in your one track on your album.
Yeah, Obalende is track 2 on the album. It actually was the first single that we dropped from the album in July, right before the album dropped. And Obalende is a tricky song. It's actually a subliminal song, because one of the songs that you listen to the first time and you don't know why you like it, but you just like it. Because I am tapping into your subconscious in a way, especially if you're a Nigerian, especially if you lived in Lagos. Because the reference to Obalende is a connection point. In Lagos, you have to, no matter who you are, rich, poor, whatever, you have to go through Obalende at one point in your life, at least once. Because you need to go to Obalende to get to certain places. You can't skip Obalende. So the reference now calls you to that time, especially if you're in the diaspora and you've lived in Lagos. It creates a certain nostalgia for you. And then the melody of the song, is similar to Tamia's "So Into You." I really like what you done for me. I can't really explain it. That song, right? So it's a '90s song that everybody has heard. So when you listen to Obalende, the melody is very similar, but you don't know where you've heard the song from. but so it sticks very easily in your head. So you keep hearing it again and again and again, and you keep playing it again, and you just like the song. Now, for me, I was just talking about a story, an experience when I was in Lagos. I met a girl in Obalande at the bus stop, but nothing happened. But I just imagined that something happened in this song and used that whole imagination of something happening to create a vibey song that everybody can relate to.
When did you have that experience with that girl?
Oh, this was a long time. This was like 2006.
Madu, Madu, them plenty for my hood, oh. Suffer, suffer.
Oh boy. Politics is a very, very interesting topic for me, especially when it comes to Nigeria, because it's so easy to be to lose any hope. Sometimes you just got to stay optimistic because the country hasn't gotten better than, like remember 10 years ago we used to talk about Nigeria 2020. Electricity everywhere. Like even can you imagine like electricity everywhere?
They said about this is like year 2000.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, it was we're gonna have this, and then it's 2010. And something that's such a basic thing like just constant electricity is still not, or constant water, basic necessities is still not a given in a country that boasts of having one of the best music genres, one of the best music artists, and the richest black man in the world. I don't know, man. Second largest movie production, largest black populous nation in Africa. There's so many things you can say about Nigeria that's great, but yet something like just having constant electricity is still a myth. I mean, I love my country, Nigeria, but I don't know how long you guys want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I'm just going to say this. If you see somebody is different and someone's showing you the way, no matter where the person's from, no matter what they look like, but if they're telling you where you need to be and they're giving you all the right answers to your questions, that should just be a no-brainer for you.
Madu, Madu, them plenty for.
Duncan Daniels is Climbing Higher. I intentionally ended my album with a song called Climbing Higher, track 10. And that is what it is for me with this album. That song, if you want to know what it is, what's going to happen for Duncan Daniels next, just go listen to that song. It's just going to tell you what's going to happen. So I don't have to say much. Just listen to track 10, Climbing Higher, and that's what it's going to be.
So how can people reach out to Duncan Daniel, social media, music, and all that?
Oh, yes. You can even easily just put Duncan Daniels on Google. Thank you, Google, for creating a Google panel for me that has everything that people need, and a Wikipedia as well, if you want to go into my history. But if you really want to delve in and interact with me, I'm pretty accessible on Twitter. I'm also accessible on Instagram. And my handles for Twitter and Instagram is @DunkishRock, DUNKISHROCK, Dunkish Rock. There's no other Dunkish Rock on Twitter or Instagram. That's why it's Dunkish Rock. And then on Facebook is Dunkish Rock Music. So facebook.com/Dunkish Rock Music. And I engage in those platforms. I'm on TikTok. I try to use TikTok, but as you can see, I'm not a young kid, so I'm still trying to learn. I'm barely on Snapchat. But if you want to engage me, Instagram, Twitter, you get me right away. And I respond. If you message me, I don't do the whole formies. I will message you back. So reach out, follow me, I'll follow you back too.